Please join us in welcoming Managing Director and Vice President of Asia Pacific for Booking.com, Laura Houldsworth, in discussion with Skift Head of Research, Seth Borko.
Thank you, everyone. It is so exciting to be here in India. You're in the middle of the kind of Skift research block, so I hope you're enjoying it. And we are really honored to be joined by Laura of Booking.com. I mean, running all of Asia Pacific, Managing Director, Vice President. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I think Rajat said it this morning, there's no better time to be Booking.com travel than in India right now, so it's great.
Not even right now, this very minute is the best time, this very second, this conversation. So look, let's jump into it. Booking.com, probably one of the largest, not the largest online travel agency in the world. You sit on a ton of data, and like we were talking about, everyone's talking about, you guys are very excited about the India opportunity. I know you've commissioned some research, you've done some studies on this. What did you learn? What are your big trends that you have from Booking.com on the Indian market?
Well, I think like we've heard all morning, there's so much opportunity here. The size, the scale, the rising middle class, just that gives us so much opportunity as an industry. Right? And we've heard from all of our peers in the industry this morning also that it's a space where there is opportunity for everybody, because if we really want to change the industry, grow the industry, whether it's in sustainability, whether it is growth in the places outside of the metro cities, so growing economic environment, we have to do it together. So I think that's first and foremost, as we look at it, there's opportunity for us all. And so I think for us, as we look at the trends across India, there's a number of things that have come out of the last couple of years, and we certainly saw COVID change some of the dynamics. Yeah. We've seen exponential growth. We've also seen, for the India traveler specifically, a few changes. We've seen the desire to travel more frequently. So previously, maybe 1 or 2 longer trips. Now there's a desire to travel much more frequently. So shorter trips, that leads to potentially shorter booking windows. So India particularly has one of the shortest booking windows globally. Yeah. So that spontaneity, that desire for kind of the lust for adventure, we see that in the booking window. So
we had someone on stage earlier say 12 trips a year, 1 a month. So the booking window, by definition, has to be pretty tight if that's the case.
If you look at the blended number, for India, it's 29 days.
Which equates to about 1 a month, right?
There you go, yeah.
We have a chart, a slide, I think, from some research. Destinations, outbound destinations that Indian travelers want to go to, how it's changing, what we see is more popular. It doesn't have to be this slide specifically, but I know you have a lot of insights into where Indian travelers are looking to go. Maybe you could tell us a little about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, India is very heavy domestic market, but there is this constant desire to travel outbound. And we've heard it also this morning that there's more and more countries making it more accessible. So the outbound market is becoming very, very exciting for the India traveler. We see all countries with their eyes on India. Right? Where are the India travelers going? What do we need to do to capture them? How do we make sure that the demand is coming to our country, our market? So we are seeing the traditional ones, I guess, UK, UAE, well, UAE always has remained in the top for the last 5 years or so. But we're also starting to see, I mean, I think it even shows here, Saudi has come into the top 5, certainly for us in the last quarter, for example. So there's some shifts there. We do see a lot of regional travel. So I guess it ties to this shorter trip window that Indians are still traveling within the region. And also the region has made it more accessible through visas, flight capacity, we heard from Campbell this morning. So there's a lot of, I guess, continued strengthening the inter-regional space. So the traditional ones, Bangkok, Singapore, KL, Indonesia is on the rise, Vietnam is on the rise as destinations. Yeah. But we know the India traveler, interestingly, sorry, Seth.
Yeah, no, go to it, please.
Interestingly is that India travelers are very much guided and influenced by movies and social media. Yeah. So if countries and destinations are looking to capture, then it's got to be that inspiration that's given.
So if Shah Rukh Khan goes to Dubai, then the Indian traveler goes to Dubai. That makes a lot of sense. We also talk a bit about where they're coming from. And traditionally, it would have been Delhi, it would have been Mumbai. But increasingly, one other piece of conversation we're having is these tier 2 and 3 cities kind of pushing a little further down into different markets. Are you seeing that trend as well?
Absolutely. You know, and traditionally, we also like, I mean, we just heard from Rajiv from Merit about, you know, we've traditionally grown our base in the metro cities. Yeah. And that's been where the demand has been, therefore that's where the supply has been. We're now seeing much more, especially guided by things that are quite unique to India, like spiritual travel. I think we also just heard from Rajiv. That drives demand into different destinations, so whether it's tier 2, tier 3 cities. And so then the demand drives the supply, or the supply drives the demand. It happens in both ways. And so we're seeing certainly the rise in that. And then from Booking.com perspective, we need to make sure that we are delivering that supply where the demand is. So yeah, we're seeing more. And
then, so you were saying, spiritual tourism, we were talking about that. Saudi Arabia, rising as a destination, but there's also a lot of domestic spiritual tourism. I mean, is that something that is of interest to you at Booking.com? Are you interested in the domestic spiritual market for that?
Absolutely. I think we've talked a lot again this morning about the different types of India travelers and where they want to go. And we see certain trends emerging here. We talked about weddings a bit, and we can talk about more about it. But spiritual travel is certainly one that is, like I said, quite unique to India, and therefore it's a market that we all need to kind of be watching, capturing, making sure that we're providing the supply in those areas that the demand is driving.
Anyway, you didn't, just briefly, because I know we're going to talk more about weddings throughout this day. You mentioned weddings.
Yeah.
Is Booking.com able to break into the wedding market, or is that more of a local market?
I think, like everything, there's opportunity and space for everybody to play in this. We know that the government has a policy, Wed in India, or a drive to make sure weddings happen here. And nobody does weddings better than Indians, that's for sure. So I can see why there's an area here. I think it's going to be an estimated $50 billion industry just in weddings alone. So of course, we want to capture what we can to support that. It also drives economic growth, and we talked about that. How do we support, as an industry, how do we support economic growth outside of metro destinations? True. And this is one of those areas. It creates jobs, it creates opportunities, so yeah, we definitely want to be part of it.
How much of your focus, since we're kind of talking about spiritual tourism here, we're talking about weddings here, the push is to have more weddings inside the country. Do you consider yourself a domestic player for domestic travel in India? I've heard you're mostly doing a lot of outbound travel, but do you agree with that characterization, or do you do just fine in domestic?
We started, I guess, from a foundation of inbound. Our home base is Europe, so of course that was where our biggest traveler base is. So we would start most destinations all across Asia Pacific as an inbound destination, as an inbound support. Now, over time, we start to become more known for outbound, in particular in this market. And I hear also a lot from travelers, from friends, I think about Booking.com when I'm thinking about going overseas, because I know you have a huge supply of inventory. And we want to make sure that we also are trusted by travelers, whether it is within India domestically, whether they're traveling into India from outbound, or whether they're going outbound. So we want to be, our mission is to make it easier for everyone to experience the world, and so of course we want to make sure that we provide the support and just really make the platform as easy as possible. So we launched Hindi, for example, as a language last year, adding to our 44 other languages, because we want to meet the travelers where they need us. And we talk about loyalty. Actually, loyalty has been a hot topic this morning as well. Campbell talked about it. I think Chris talked about it from GHA. There's a huge opportunity in driving loyalty, and customers use brands they trust. We also heard from Rajiv at Marriott, the Bonvoy membership is growing, our Genius membership is also growing very fast, and we want to make sure that travelers trust what they use, so making it easier and providing a platform that, that they trust, and sponsoring and working with local brands is an area for us to do that in. So.
I'm a fan of the Genius program, but it's a very simple program. Marriott, Bonvoy before us has a very complex program. Some of your competitors, Make My Trip has Black, Double Black, these very complex loyalty programs. Do you find that the Genius program is working well in India?
Yeah, I think the key thing for us is to make sure that it gets known. You're right, it's a very simple program. We talk about making it easier for everyone to experience the world, so by nature, everything we do is about ease. And so the Genius program is a lifetime membership. There's 3 levels. You can access it through, obviously, additional bookings. So it's a program that we want to continue to advocate for and make sure that people understand what it means.
We have this slide on monthly active users. So it's from our friends at Bernstein. I don't know if we can pull it up. But it shows Indian monthly users at Booking.com versus at your rival, Expedia.com. I think it'll come up. Yeah, there it is. It just came up there. Booking.com is killing it. You have a lot of Indian monthly active users, if this chart is correct. I noticed that inflection point is kind of around when you took over as the managing director of APAC.
Nothing to do with the COVID, right?
Yeah, nothing to do with COVID. It's all you. I mean, what are you guys doing? What are you doing to make this growth in India for Booking.com happen?
Well, Booking, as I say, we talk about making it easier for everyone to experience the world. So we've used this mantra globally as a mission to make sure that the platform is is easy in every way, that we provide all the verticals that travelers are looking for, so going beyond a traditional accommodation, flights, attractions, car rental, ground transportation, but we also want to make sure that we are locally relevant. And I think that's very critical. We have a large team on the ground here in India across 3 different cities that cover the entire geography. So we want to make sure that we stay, while we use our global scale and the strengths that we have in the platform, but also make it very relevant for the India traveler. So I think that's something that we continue to focus on.
Yeah, I want to touch on that point of being relevant, but I did want to talk about this growth here. Is that all marketing-led growth, or is it organic, or is it discounts? Like, how much is marketing driving this growth versus the product, or what do you think the keys are there?
I think it's a combination probably of all. We certainly invest a lot in marketing. We want to do strategic marketing. We invested in the World Cricket, the World Cricket Cup with the ICC over the last 5 years. So those type of things help us to grow brand awareness, brand trust. But certainly we also do online marketing as well. So we do everything that allows us to capture the hearts and minds of the travelers, and I think that's showing there in the growth.
Now, you mentioned the Cricket World Cup. Booking.com, I'm an American, right? So the sport for us is football, and it's not the football that you all are thinking of, it's the NFL. You sponsored the Super Bowl, and you sponsored the Cricket World Cup. So a bit of a east-west here. Which one has the better ROI for Booking.com, cricket or NFL?
That's a really big question to ask, particularly in this audience. I guess being British, then I understand and love cricket. I have no idea about what you call football. So that in itself for me is an ROI. And when a sport becomes a religion, you can't put an ROI on it. So.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure someone in your company has crunched the numbers. There's a real ROI there.
There's a reason we continue to invest in Super Bowl, and the US is a priority market for us as well globally, and that's no secret. But yeah, I mean, I think the cricket is the 3rd most watched sporting event in the world. Yeah. So, yeah, it speaks for itself.
But Taylor Swift didn't. Whatever. Okay, never mind. We got to move on. We have all these Western chains expand India. Everyone's excited about India. We had Marriott, Hilton, Accor. They're all very interested in expanding into the Indian market. You have very long-standing relationships with these chains, and these mega brands, honestly, they kind of like to beat you up a little bit over commissions and over their loyalty programs and getting their customers to book direct. When you see Marriott expanded into India, does it mean that your take rates and your commissions are going to go down, or is it worrying to you, or is it a good thing?
Oh, it's great for us. The more that the brands also come in, it means that there's much more demand that we also want to capture and support. So we partner with all of the large chains, along with the local chains, the smaller properties. We have a significant number of listings now here in India, and that ranges from all types of accommodation. So no, we partner very closely. With more demand brings more supply, and of course we want to support that growth.
Are the contracts with Marriott globally negotiated, or are they negotiated locally in India?
Some are global and some are locally done.
A little bit of both. We have an audience question here. I like this one. What's your take on the connected trip? So the connected trip is Glenn Fogel, your CEO's vision to have all flights, hotels, experiences, all digital, all on Booking.com. I might reword this question a little bit differently. How does the connected trip look different in India than it does in Europe or North America?
Yeah, the concept of the connected trip is applicable wherever you are in the world. It's really about removing friction from travel. And we talk about the industry is growing so fast, but nobody's got it super smooth, super simple yet when we look across all the verticals. And I'm not talking about packages. Packages are one way of simplifying travel. But we're talking about giving the opportunity for travelers to pick where they want to fly, how they want to travel, what's important to them, and connecting all of that together. So for us, it's about removing friction. And like I say, that applies everywhere. Travel is complicated, and that's applicable to everywhere. But as a market like India continues to grow, continues to expand, like I say, the rise in alternative accommodation becomes very important, then we have to get quite specific by market.
Yeah, and you have a lot of alternative accommodations on your platform, and you're one of the largest. That is, we've been talking about luxury, we're talking about upscale, but that is a very big growing opportunity in India, right?
It's huge. And we see, there's a few things that are important to India travelers. We talked about spiritual travel being one. We know food, culinary experiences are incredibly important to Indian travelers. And we know traveling in large intergenerational family groups are important. That drives the rise also of this alternative accommodation. So the types of kitchens, so the definition of a non-hotel is, can I cook there? And what type of food is available and what type of facilities are available for me to provide food for my family? So this, I think, continues to lead to the growth of this alternative space. Beach houses, interestingly, are the #1 for us in Booking.com in that alternative space, followed by farm stays.
Farm stays.
Followed by farm stays, yeah. Followed then by third is the city locations, so city apartments, for example. So again, it goes to show what's important. It's food, it's that intergenerational space. So I think we'll see the continued rise there.
And of course, it's making it all seamless and a connected trip.
Making it seamless, absolutely.
All right, well, thank you so much, Laura. We're out of time. It was a pleasure having you here with us at the India Summit.
Thank you very much.